Hi there, hope you have a fantastic day today. This lesson I will teach you fractional indices. Of course, there is a PDF file versions on the description below for you to download so you can work with me. Otherwise, let's go straight into it. First of all, from index law, so we know that I to the power of m, power of n, so that will give us I to the power of m times n. And we also know that opposite of square root is square. So in another word, if we have square root of I, and then we square it, and it will cancel each other out. So the answer will be I. So this is I, because opposite of square root is square. So I means I to the power of 1. Now from index law, we also know that, so if we have I to the power of a half, and then we square it, so from index law, a half we times 2. So half times 2 is 1. So this is also equal to I. And don't forget, I is I power of 1. So this means that we have I to the power of half square, give me I to the power of 1. And square root of I square, also I to the power of 1. So this means that they are equal. So in another word, I to the power of half is square root of I. Or square root of I is I to the power of a half. We know that opposite of cube root is power of 3. So let's say I have cube root of I. And if I power of 3, so that will also give me I. So I is I power of 1 because opposite of cube is power of 3. And we also know that from index law, so if we have I to the power of a third and we cube it, it's also give me I. I mean I power of 1. So we know that because it's a third times 3 is 1 whole. So in another word, we have x to the power of 1/3 is exactly the same as cube root of I. So let me just write this down. So we have cube root of I is I to the power of a third. So what about 4 roots of I? So opposite of 4 root is power of 4. So let's say I have 4 root of I. So if I power 4, so that should give me I, or I power 1 if you like, because they're opposite each other, so they cancel each other out. So we also know that I to power a quarter, and if we power 4, so a quarter times 4 is 1, so I power 1. So there you go. So they're the same. So we know that 4 roots of I is I power of 1/4 or 1/4 if you like. So let me just write this down. So 4 root of I is I to the power of 1/4. What about 5th root of I? So opposite of 5th root is power of 5. So let me just write this down. So if we have 5th root of I, so if I power 5, so that cancel each other out because opposite of 5th root is power 5. So this will give me I. And I means I power 1. And we know that if we have I power 1/5 and power 5, so from log law, so 1/5 times 5 is 1. So that means is equal to I power 1. So this means that 5th root of I is equal to I to the power of 1/5. So let me just write this down. So we have 5th root of I, so that will give me I to the power of 1/5. So let's just write down what we know so far. So far we know that square root of I is I to the power of a half. And we know that cube root of I is I power of a third. And we know that 4 root of I is I power of 1/4. And then if we have 5th root of I, so that will give me I to the power of 1/5. So from these arguments, so if we have n root of I, so this will give me I to the power of 1n. So please keep that in mind. So this is one of the general rule, if you like. So this means that we have n root of I, so I to the power of 1 over n. Or I to the power of 1 over n is equal to n root of I. Okay, so please keep this in mind for me, okay? So let's explore this a little bit further. So we know that n root of I equal I to the power of 1 over n. Let's say if a power of m on both sides. So let's make this power of m. So therefore, I must do the same thing on the right hand side. So from log law, we know that this on the right hand side becomes m times that. So we know 1 over n times m. So that will give me m over n. So that becomes m over n. So therefore, n root of I power of m is equal to I to the power of m over n. So if you think about it, okay, we have a power of m over n. So this from log law, this is also equal to I 1 over n times m. So this means that this is exactly the same as I power of m power of 1 over n. And we know that power of 1 over n is n roots. So this means that this is exactly the same I power of m and n root. So there you go. So this means that, let me just write this down. So n root of I power of m is equal to I m over n. So this is another rule. So please take note on this, okay? So let me just go through a few examples and hopefully you know how to apply these rules. So first one. So first of all, we know that I to the power of 1n is equal to n square root of I. So therefore, x to the power of 1/5 is exactly the same as, so 5th root of x. So for b, x to the power of 4 over 3, and we know the rule. So the rule is if we have n root of I power of m, so that will give me I m over n. So take note on this. The n here is always down the bottom, okay, of m. So this will give me is equal to x power 4, the 4 still there, and then cube root. Okay, so cube root of x to the power 4. Part C. So before we do anything, we need to convert the negative index into positive index first. So no coefficient in front of x, that means 1 here. So now to convert that into negative, so we need to bring this down. So it becomes positive. That's the first step, okay? So that becomes the 1 still stay on top, and we bring this down, so that becomes x to the power of 1/3. So x to the power 1/3 is cube root of x. So that will give me 1 over x and cube root of x. So there you go. Part D. So first of all, we know that I to the power of m over n. So that will give me n root of I power of m. And we have power of 2/3. So this means that is equal to, so we have 3i minus 7 first, and then the 2 is just square. And the 3 here is actually cube root. So let me just write this down first. So then it's cube root. Okay, that's what that meant. And part E, so we have a negative index. So before we do anything, we need to convert that into positive index first. And no coefficient in front of the brackets, that means 1, okay? Then we just need to bring this group down. So it becomes positive. So that will give me equal 1 over, so 3 minus 2x, and then power of 4 over 5, or 4/5 if you like. Now we can make it into third form, okay? So now that will give me 1 over, so 4, that means power 4 there. So 3 minus 2x, okay, power 4. So because if you think about it, so m is 4, so power 4. And then we have the n underneath, so therefore it's n root. So at the moment we have 5, so therefore 5th root. So let me just write this first. So this is 5th. So there you go. Second one. So we need to convert this third form into index form. So first of all, we know that square root of x is x to the power of half. Part B, square root of x to the power of 7. So it's exactly the same as x, power of 7 and square root. So 2 underneath of 7. So that's all. So keep that in mind. And part C, the cube root of x squared. So that will give me x power of 2 over 3. Now remember, so m square root of I power of n. So this m here just go underneath of n. Okay, so therefore we just write this. So therefore this is exactly the same as I n over m. So therefore this 3 here just go underneath of 2 if you like. So therefore x to the power of 2/3. Part D. So again, we have I power of m and then n root. So that means that will give me I m and the n go underneath. So that means I to the power of m over n. So this is m is 1. Remember. So fifth root is just like 1 over 5. So 4 is stay the same. So 4, I just write this down. 2x minus 3 power of 1/5. So there you go. And part E, same rule apply. So that will give me 9 over. Now remember we have the 5 there. So 5 means just 5 times. Okay, 5 times 4 root of y plus 2 all power 3. So we just write the 5 in front first. And we have brackets. So y plus 2 power of 3 over 4. And we know that 3 is the m. So that becomes there. And then 4 is the n. So n here. So that means power of 3 over 4. Please pause the video and try this one yourself. Hi there, I'm back. How do you go? So let me go through them with you, okay? Before I do that, please do not forget to give me a thumb up and subscribe if you haven't done so you can help me to grow my channel. So let's get into it. So first one. So we have power of a half. That means square root, okay? So that means, let me just write x minus 1 and square root of that. And m power of a quarter is equal to 4 root of m. So there you go. So keep that in mind, okay? So I power of 1 over n is n root of I. So keep that in mind. Now we have 2y all power of negative 2/3. So before we do anything, we need to convert that into positive index first. So no coefficient in front of the brackets, that means 1. So then we bring this down. So it becomes positive. So that is exactly the same as 1 over 2y power of 2/3. So there you go. Then we just write in third form. So that will give me, now don't forget, we have n root of I power of m. So that will give me I m over n. So this is exactly the same as cube root of 2y all square. So 1 over 2y all square. And then cube root, okay? So there you go. So part D, don't forget. So we have n root of I power of m. That will give me I to the power of m over n. So this is exactly the same. 2x minus 5 power of 4 and then 7 root. Okay, so just write this first. And this is 7, small 7. Okay, remember that. And this one here, part E. So step number 1, we need to convert that into positive index first. So we need to bring it down. So no coefficient in front of brackets, that means 1. And then we bring this down. So become positive index. So that will give me, 1 over, so 4 I minus 7 power of 5 over 3. So this will give me cube root of I minus 7 power of 5. So that becomes 1 over, so 4I minus 7, so power of 5, and then this is cube root, and the small 3. So there you go. Number 2, so we have square root of x to the power of 3. So this will give me square root, it means power half. So half times 3 is 3 over 2. So x power of 3 over 2 if you like. Now don't forget, this one here is actually 7 times square root of x to the power of 5, not 7 root, okay? If it's 7 root, it will be like this, 7, small 7, like this, with x power of 5. So keep that in mind, because this is 7, a normal 7 times that. So this will give me the 7, so 7 times x to the power of 5 over 2, because this one here is 5 over 2, and 7 lots of that, so 5 over 2. So part C, again, don't forget the rule. So we have m square root of I power of n, so the m go underneath of n, so I n over m. So therefore this 3 is underneath of 8. So this will give me x to the power of 8 over 3. So there you go. Part D. So that will give me 2, which is the normal 2, we just write it out, and 7 root of that, so that means 3 over 7, okay? So in another word, we have 2I 3 over 7. So there you go. Last one. So is equal to, so 6, we write it down. Again, this is 5 lots of that, okay? So 5 times, so we just write the 5 down. And then the cube root of x minus 8 all power of 2. So we just bring the 3 underneath of 2. Okay, so keep that in mind. So that will give me x minus 8 2 over 3. So there you go. I hope you got all of them correct. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.